All right, here we go. Today I have Maddy Moon with us. Maddy Moon is an author, a podcast host, a retreat leader, which I'd like to know about, and a transformational life coach, which you are the second transformational life coach, Maddy, that we've had on here actually. And I myself am a transformational nutrition coach. So we've got that in common. So thank you for coming, Maddy Moon.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure. This entire group sounds amazing, and I'm just so excited to be a part of it.
Yes, it is. You have something super unique for us today that I'm really excited about. I had gone in one direction with Maddy, and she said, no, let's actually talk about this. And it's something I'm familiar with, but I don't think a lot of the listeners are going to be familiar with. And the topic we have today is all about balancing the feminine and masculine perfectionism in ourselves. Is that correct, Maddy?
It is harmonizing the feminine and masculine energies, getting rid of perfectionism altogether, and actually getting rid of balance and trying to use a harmony versus a 50-50 scale, you know?
Okay, yes, yeah. I do know. Yeah, that's a better way of putting it, harmony. Because for a lot of people, this is going to be super foreign to them. So actually, why don't we start with, can we explain a little bit more about what that even means? What does harmonizing the masculine and feminine mean?
Yeah. Do you mind if I give just a little bit of background information on myself first?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
That might help with a little bit of context.
Okay. So, yeah.
To make my story very short, because this can take up forever. I used to be, let's say around second grade-ish, I started to realize that I had a lot of pressures in my life to do things correct, right and wrong. There's a black and white. I was raised in a very loving household, also very conservative and very religious, and there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. The way, though, that I internalized these messages of living my life like this and not like this, having these friends, not these friends, dressing like this, wearing makeup, not this, I felt so much pressure growing up, and I needed an outlet. And at the time, I had very few resources of what that outlet could be. So I turned to controlling my food and my weight and the scale and body image very quickly in life. Constantly sucking in my stomach, constantly reading like fitness magazines. I became a vegetarian. That glided into veganism. And then I found bodybuilding. And then I became a bodybuilder with an eating disorder that was very secret, hush hush, no one knew about it. But this way for me was to cope with my desire to be perfect in all things and to be desirable. The ironic thing is, when I got to this level of society's views of this is what perfection is, blah, 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 I didn't see it. I was still so deep in this mental turmoil of needing to be better, do better, get everyone's approval and praise and my own approval and praise. But the bar kept raising because perfectionism isn't a real thing. It's just an illusion we have in our minds. It's totally made up, and you'll never reach it. So I needed this outlet. I created eating disorders out of it until I finally reached a point where I knew I couldn't do this anymore. This was hurting me, killing me slowly, isolating me, giving me anxiety and depression and just hatred for myself. So I got to this point where I said, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to learn what it means to release, to let go, to let the world tell me how to look and ignore it. Not try to change everyone and control everyone to make sure that they conform to my new views, but instead to live in this world that I was born in and to be able to stay strong and to let my body take its natural shape and let the world do what it wants to do and tell me what it wants to say, but let go of my perfectionism and really just find what feels good to me in a given moment and allow my body to take its natural shape, like I said. So 4 years later, I went on this journey, moved into the mountains, totally just isolated myself in a healthy way. I distanced myself from the toxic people in my life, the toxic side of the fitness industry, because I know what you're doing is very healthy and motivating. I was not in this healthy and motivating arena. And that was a long journey, 4 years. And now I have come to this realization that it's not so much it's never been about the food or the body image or not really liking your body. It's about coping with something, whether it's coping with a trauma, coping with the need for control, coping with not being in control of the unknown, the fear of the unknown. And all of these things, it's a feminine energy and it's a masculine energy. There's a disharmony with this. You could say there's an imbalance with this. there are women out there that are so afraid of being soft, of accepting the curves of their life, but also the curves of their body. They're afraid to be taken care of because they're afraid this looks like weakness. There's also women out there that are afraid of speaking up, of stepping into their masculinity and being assertive. So there are some women that are afraid of the feminine, some people that are afraid of the masculine, and same for men. There are many men that are terrified of even imagining or coming to terms with that they are made up of part feminine, and they're so clinging onto the masculine, and vice versa. Some men are fearful of the masculine in them. So these energies can be, some qualities can be considered both feminine and masculine. For example, I think vulnerability is a universal energy, doesn't really have a particular side, but there are some energies that I think are very distinct. I think Mother Nature is very feminine. I think creativity is feminine. I think rest is feminine. Community is feminine. These are the pulling in qualities, the ones that are more about introspection, the ones that are softer.
Nurturer.
They're nurturing, they are loving, they are warmth. It's warmth. It's that softer voice inside of every single person, regardless of gender or what your harmonies look like right now, that says it's okay to love yourself and to take it easy. You're loved already. You're enough. And then there's the pushing out energy, and this is the masculine energy. This is the one that's driven. It is logical to some extent. It's assertive. It is drive. It is self. Whereas feminine is more of the community energy. The masculine is more of the self-focused energy. It's the talking versus the listening. It's the goal-oriented nature. It's the leadership, right? And both of these sides are so important. Now, when you're someone who has goggles on and you're looking at life through the lens of fear and not love, these energies become distorted. The feminine, which is soft, becomes weakness. The masculine that is strong becomes hardness and rigid. And a lot of women who have issues with the masculine or with the feminine, let's say that you're a very driven woman, probably you, definitely me, very driven, has goals. You might have some, at some point in your life, you've experienced the fear of being seen as weak. So you try to get control, and then you fall into perfectionism, which can lead to eating disorders.
Yeah.
When you strip all of that away and you start to reclaim your softness and let other people take care of you, even though you know you can do it yourself, that's when you're at your strongest, I believe. So I help women learn where that imbalance is or the disharmony is, and what stories they're carrying around about the feminine, or if the issue is the masculine, about the masculine, so that they can start putting on the goggles of love instead of looking at life through fear.
Yeah. I love it. You know, in my practice and my one-on-one coaching, I'm always telling women that the eating part of losing weight and regaining health is sometimes the easiest part. What gets in the way 99% of the time is the emotional stuff that we're carrying around. And this is a really key piece, I feel, that people just totally disregard, and they have no idea about. Like, nobody's going to say, I think I have an eating disorder because I don't have my masculine and feminine harmonized inside my body. Nobody says that, right? And this is one of those things that you really should be thinking about. You know, it's those limiting beliefs of how we were raised. And like you, I had eating disorders growing up. I had a mother that was like forced down my throat, you are independent, you are strong, you don't need a man, you can do everything by yourself, never ask for help, you know, and it was constant. And I went into my 20s thinking, okay, I have to be this person. And it got me nothing but trouble, right? It just was totally one-sided, and I completely ignored this other side of me. And I remember a woman pointing it out to me once. It was a therapist, and she said, "You're not your mom." And she said, "You just want to be loved and you want to be taken care of. And actually, you're very soft on the inside." And I was just like, what? I am? I had no idea. And then, of course, since then, that was probably 10 years ago. It's something I've truly worked on for 10 years. Like, it's a constant because those limiting beliefs and that was, for a good portion of my life, was what I was taught to do and how to think. And so it's, yes, I've come a long way, but it's something that I do have to consistently think about, which is, am I going too far one way, and how can I bring that back in together?
Absolutely. Yeah. I find that to be so true across the board, where people are told by someone or another, like, be strong, like, you're independent. Yes, we are independent. Yes, we are powerful, but that's also being feminine. Like, no one is saying that being feminine means we're always relying on people. You can be feminine and be strong and be independent, but also accept another kind of energy to help you along the way. And you have to realize you have that within yourself. Sometimes you'll gain that from another person, a partner, but sometimes you'll gain that from yourself. And I love this recent, not that recent, but I love all the energy going around of like women empowerment and leadership, and women like taking control and like earning more money. Like, yay, go women. What I don't like though is the putting down of men that I have noticed in some ways.
Yeah, me too.
Even if it's a joke, I don't think it's funny. I don't think it's fair. I think women empowering women is great. I think women empowering men is great, and vice versa. And I would like to see more of that. We are one in the same type of thing. Like, we are a left arm and we are a left arm and we are a right arm. Like, we are together in this. And I know that there are certain situations that are wrong and are terrible. And there are reasons for some women to be fearful of men. And I acknowledge that and I understand that. I think that when we can break down the beliefs, though, we can step into our power of showing up with those two energies and out of love and reclaiming our lives and forgiving ourselves and forgiving others, and realizing that the masculine is not bad. It's not hard. It's strong. It's needed. It's necessary. And it's pretty dang nice to be taken care of by people in your life, and letting go of control and stepping into your softness so that you can just realize that you are taken care of, whether it's by a partner, by yourself, by the universe. You are held, you are taken care of. And part of one of the best parts of stepping into that feminine energy is realizing this, that you don't have to be in control of everything, and not being in control of everything is not weakness, it's softness.
Yeah. I always say that I'm a total feminist at heart, but I also feel what you're thinking too, which is I feel like women have kind of shot themselves in the foot, and now we came so hard one way, probably necessarily because we had to fight to where we got to today. But now it's time to now find that balance. That balance is something that is all over the earth right now. The energy balance between man and woman is off, and we need to have them equal. And that's where we have to fight now to get to. Right now, it's like women are just, I call it the Wonder Woman syndrome. And we're doing everything now. It's like, oh yeah, I can do it all. I can mother, I can have a full-time career, I can clean my house, I can cook dinner, I can run around, and I'm going to come home and have sex with you. Yeah, that's me, right? But that's not balance.
No, it sounds so exhausting. And it's true, women have a lot of pressure on themselves. Like, if you're going to be a 30-year-old mom, you also should be going to all these PTA meetings, and you better be this certain size, and you better have this color hair, and always have your hair done, and never wear your pajamas out in public. And like you said, like, better come home and have sex, and then be able to create food, put it on the table, nurture and love on everybody, give them all kisses, read like 5 bedtime stories, and then you are a complete mother. Then you are ready for life. Otherwise, there's like judgment going on. And I think I think that starts within yourself, being able, because the world might not change that overnight. The world might continue to say, these are my expectations for you, now do it. Or when I shouldn't say the world, I should say the media might continue to put those pressures on you. So I believe the best way to live your life is that instead of trying to control everything happening around you and change other people's opinions of you and make other people let you just be yourself, forget what other people think. Just you like you. It's not their job to like you. It's your job to like you. So you have to learn how to become immune to other people's judgments on yourself, because they're going to judge. Let them judge. It says nothing about you. It says everything about them. So you find your own harmony, become the person you know you are, or at least remember the person you are. If you're being clogged and having all these different connotations and pressures being put on you, strip those and remember who you really are. Come back home to who you are and let other people do what they want to do. You'll never be able to control them. You're only in control to the tips of your fingers. And that's the way it will always be.
And so in your opinion, what can someone do to get started on this exploration? Because I really feel that's what it is. It's an exploration of self. Some of us will many listeners, I don't think would even, like I said before, had even thought about this kind of thing before. And now that we're talking about it, they're going to start to look at their lives differently. Do you have some tools that someone can use to get started on that exploration?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's hard to know exactly what each person, and I mean, it's impossible to know what each person in your circle, where the imbalances or the disharmony. So I'll just speak from my experience that and maybe a lot of people listening to this, most people, honestly, that I meet, come from a place of being in this perfectionism. So one very simple thing you can do is to look for areas of your life that you struggle the most with letting go of control. Like, let's say I work with a lot of nurses, a lot of lawyers, Marines. That's who I work with generally. No wonder, because those are very high energy, intense jobs with deadlines and a lot of pressure. And the women I work with like that kind of thing. They think that's where they're supposed to be. So if you are someone that has a high intensity job, where are you not honoring yourself? Where can you start saying no more? I think no is a very sacred, powerful word. And if you are feeling like your cup is full, overflowing, there's no room for you, you are not showing up as your highest value for the people that actually do matter in your life, including yourself. So where can you start giving up control? Maybe if you're in the car with your partner and they're looking to find a place and they're lost, how can you let them take care of it instead of you trying to micromanage every little thing about that? If you're in work and you have a stack of papers piling up, who can you ask? Can you take parts of this? How can you give up control? If you struggle with letting anyone else take care of anything, how can you start to step into that and giving up control and letting other people work with you to become a team? I also believe that vulnerability is a huge, huge, huge part of this. If you feel that you're struggling with stepping into your softness, I highly encourage every woman in this group to create an in-person community as well. Someone that you can pick up the phone and share your shame with. That's not going to add to your shame, not going to say, oh my gosh, you feel that way, you do that. Someone that's going to hold space for you and listen to you, because releasing shame is feminine. That is softness. It's not weakness. So you can learn for areas of your life where you feel like energy is stifled. You can create more community. You can do a lot of journaling on these things. I oftentimes have my clients write out what is feminine to me, what is masculine to me, what's stopping me in each of these energies from creating this. What does a day look like of stepping fully into my feminine essence? What does a day look like stepping into my masculine essence? And then you can see, like, what does that actually look like to you? For a lot of my clients, when I do this with them, a perfect feminine day looks like waking up, drinking your tea, going for a walk with your dog, being in nature, going for a hike, calling a friend. It's very like nurturing, nourishing activities. And then a day of like masculine essence is a day where you're hitting deadlines, you're speaking up for your needs, you're being ambitious, you have energy, you're going for a run. It's the yang, whereas the feminine is the yin. And you need to make sure that you're listening to both sides of those parts of you. When you need rest, take it. It's not weakness. But when you need to speak up for yourself, do it. It's not hardness or rigidity. It's strength and it's self-respect. So those things you can do. And then also one thing that's helped me personally is a lot of books. I love to read books on these topics. I just read a book called The Book of She, which I highly recommend. Fantastic. I love the fiction book, The Red Tent.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, that's great.
I was actually just going to say, listening to you talk, there's a very cyclical energy that happens for women between the masculine and feminine just within their cycle, right? Like the beginning of our cycle when we're bleeding, and prior to that, we are very introspective, we're calm. That's when we want to sit and drink tea and do yoga and meditate. Usually we ignore all of this. And then, once we get past the period and we start getting into ovulation, that masculine energy naturally steps forward, where you can really that's where I do the most of my business is that first 2 weeks once I get my period and then into the ovulation. That's when I get the most work done. And I get all my good ideas. And then as the month carries on, I just do this. And I know it. And it's just, that's the time now to get introspective, to be calmer, to spend more time doing spiritual things. And for me, it's a very cyclical, which I didn't realize until you were just talking about that, the masculine and feminine.
Oh yeah. And there's so much behind this. I think our cycles are like the keys to understanding ourselves.
Yeah.
They are the keys. And if you have some hormone imbalances going on, or if you have birth control messing with that, I highly recommend that you look into options that will help you get back in touch into your body. And we all have different needs. And of course, if you're on birth control that gives you hormones, you can still be in touch with your body in those cycles. One app that I use is called MyFlow. It is fantastic. You can track your period, but it also will tell you, hey, this is the cycle that you're in. This is this is what you might expect with or see happen with your emotions. This is the best time to do high intensity exercise. It'll tell you exactly what's going through your body. And so for a lot of people who are new to this, they're like, oh, that's why I'm crying all day long. Yeah. And also for a lot of people a lot of women are in sync with the moon cycles. I know I start on the full moon. So it's a very intense, heavy day for me. It's a lot of letting go. And it's a very emotional day. And I plan for full moon days, the same day I start my period, I know I'm going to eat more. I know I'm going to rest more. I know I'm going to probably want a bath. I'm going to want to be by myself. So I set up in advance that day to be like a sacred day for me. Yeah. And that being in touch with that energy yourself is definitely a part of getting to know your feminine more.
Yeah. And the red tent, if we could only live like that, hey, Maddie, if we could just all collectively as a group of women get together in a tent and have our period for a week and not do anything.
I would love that. Fantastic. And I love that book because all the rituals it shares and all the like bonding of the women. I love that. It just totally, it didn't shift the way I think about women community, but it helped move forward my relationship with women in community.
Oh, it was beautiful. I think it was one of the few books I read twice because I loved it so much. And I probably read it 20 years ago. And I think it's so great. I always refer to it. We had a woman on recently, Allie McPhee, and she talked about just that 28-day cycle or the monthly cycle. But she also talked about how it's very seasonal for women as well. That whole, the masculine, feminine, in regards to that, but that there's a total, and if women could only just get more in touch with that and honor that side of themselves, that's a huge piece of that masculine, feminine harmonization that you're talking about, I think.
Right. The harmony happens on a day-to-day basis. It happens on a seasonal basis too. The winter time, I notice I'm energyless. I want to retreat. I want to go dark. I don't want to be on social media. I want to be by myself, maybe even travel. Hibernate, exactly. I'm just like a bear. And then during the spring and the summer, I'm creating courses, I'm leading retreats, I'm traveling still, high energy, going around. And I realize, and I watch these cycles, and I don't let them just happen unawarely. I want to know myself. I want to be self-aware. So I listen to myself, and I don't judge myself when that happens. When I notice I'm exhausted, I don't say, how are you exhausted? That girl over there is just high energy and she's going still, and I'm tired, and man, I must be so weak and I must need medication. Like, I'm not normal. No way. Like, I say, oh my gosh, I need some yin right now. I need some nurturing. I need to listen to myself, not fight myself. If more people could do that, we'd be happier. We'd be living more in alignment with ourselves. We would be just feeling so much more at peace and not fearful of these ups and downs, but comfortable with these ups and downs because we realize it's just the yin and it's just the yang.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. I love it. That's a good place to maybe stop because I know you're short for time. Where can we find you, Maddie?
So you can find me at maddymoon.com. That's Maddy Moon, like the planet.com. And my podcast is called Mind Body Musings. That's on my website. It's also on iTunes and Stitcher. I've been doing that for over 3.5 years now, so plenty of episodes on there. I'm on Instagram, Madelyn Moon, Madelyn. And on my website, I have a free gift, 4 pillars of femininity for perfectionists. So anyone that feels like you are a perfectionist or you struggle with body image, maybe a little bit of disordered eating and obsession, and you need to cope with the fear of the unknown or control, this is a great audio guide for you. It's like about an hour long, and I just go through some of the lessons that I shared today, but in depth. So I would love if everyone wanted to check that out and you grabbed it.
Definitely.
Hopefully it will serve you well.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll make it one of our, every month we have a self-exploration tool that people have to go through. And so I'll put that in as one of the self-exploration tools for the month so that everybody can go and listen to it and just dive in a little bit deeper, because this is we've only been able to just brush the surface here today, but it's really interesting stuff. And I really feel like it's a really missing key for a lot of women, especially when it comes to body image, weight loss, which a lot of these women, that's why they're here, is just getting in touch with your body instead of just running to the next best diet, starving yourself, working out like crazy. Why not do it completely different and instead getting really in touch with your body and what does your body need?
Absolutely. Totally.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been awesome.
No problem. Thanks for coming on. And I will send people your way. I think it's great. I've listened to lots of your podcasts and I love them. And they're very diverse. She talks about a whole bunch of different stuff on her podcast. So it's definitely worth going in and checking out. But yes, thank you, Maddy. And we will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.